In a quarter of a mile, turn right onto Bath Road, A4. Turn right onto Bath Road, A4. Continue on Bath Road for 3/4 of a mile. In a quarter of a mile, at Huntercombe roundabout, take the first exit onto Huntercombe Spur heading to M4, London. Exit the roundabout onto Huntercombe Spur. Keep left at the fork. In a quarter of a mile, merge onto M4. Continue on M4 for 5 miles. In 2 miles, at junction 5, take the A4, B470 exit to Colnbrick, Tangley. quarter of a mile, at junction 5 take the A4, B470 exit to Colnbrick, Langley.
560600973. Coping with your children, or in some instances possibly your grandchildren, of course, being sent home from school. This stand bubble system, desperately difficult. Roger, you'll be the first caller. Front pages of the newspapers, and this story does lead. The Daily Telegraph, schools.
Exit at junction 5.
Sent home, entire bubble is doing exactly what a headline's meant to do. 789 words telling you the story. We've mentioned already, schools will be told to treat COVID like the flu.
In a quarter of a mile, at Langley roundabout take the third exit onto London Road, A4.
Now, did you know this? Teenage truants are using lemon juice because it fakes a positive test. And that means they stay home. Did you know? I didn't know that lemon juice. I don't know how they do it. I suppose I better read into more details on the front page of the story. But obviously don't do that. But I do need to make you aware of it because it's a big article on one of the newspapers. Other newspapers, there are other COVID-related stories I think I've already told you. And we will look at in more detail later in the show. The Daily Mail's booster jabs in September for over 50s. And it could be the mix and match idea. That is to say, one AstraZeneca, one Pfizer, whatever. Because now, of course, that would appear to be more effective. COVID also for the front page of the Times. Get COVID and flu jab in each arm from autumn. So the same story, but they add the flu aspect to it. For the Guardian, it's fears over mass events after 1,300 travelling Scottish fans get COVID. This is, of course, the lads and women who came down to watch the big game at Wembley. Now 1,300. I don't need to tell you, it's in the headline. Have proved positive. What does that mean for the plans for the British Grand Prix or whatever else it might be? Wimbledon, which of course is already in action, isn't it? Talking about sport, the Metro tells us the Three Lions go to Rome alone, which means, of course, the quarantine issues means the travelling army. The fans are not able to join them for the big game on Saturday. The Sun, building up to the big game on Saturday, portraying Harry Kane as Michael Caine. Sorry, forgive me, my name is Harry Kane. We're going to do an Italian job on Ukraine. I'm running out of strength to even say it all. I suppose it was an idea. It sounded right after lunch. So there's Harry Kane knocked up as Michael. I can't even bother actually. Enough already. I've done enough, haven't I? Knocked up as Michael Caine, and they're pretending it's the Italian job. There's the real Harry Kane jumping around in a swimming pool with Raheem Sterling. Splash Harry, the front page of the Mirror. But their main story is tribute to Princess reunited for Mum. It is the suggestion that the Princess, William and Harry are now talking again, and possibly the football help. That is a source of conversation. And it's the front page of the Daily Express. Heal the rift for Diana's sake. Harry is the caller. I'll be asking you later in the show when a family, all families, part of being a family is you have ups and downs and you have rifts and fights, and then you hopefully put it together and the love bonds you together again. But how do you get over a rift of that magnitude? That's a little bit later. Let's get into the schools. Roger in Brentwood. Are we talking about your children or your grandchildren? How disruptive it has been, Roger. Good morning. I trust you're well.
Yes, my grandchildren, and yes, thank you. I'm very well. Thank you are as well.
Good to hear.
It's my grandchildren. It's unfortunately in today's society, most parents, both parents, have to work in a household.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got a kid off from school,
Keep right at the fork.
someone's got to be there to support the kid. Now, I know they were one of your experts concerned about the psychological effect, Richard, but sorry, when I was a minor, if I had extra days at the school when the sun was shining, I'd go. I don't think they're having that much respect.
Yeah, but you hadn't
but
lost.
the impact on the household discharges
Yes.
would be devastating.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's slightly different than alright, you have the odd day fishing, but you hadn't had up to a third, if not more, of the school year taken away, though, had you? That's the difference here, I would suggest.
No, but Nick, you've got to look at it from point of view. That's not something that you can regret later down the line. If you're six, excuse me, sir. If you're stay on at school, Roger, is that going to be that day?
Roger, if you're 16 and you're doing your GCSEs, or you're 18 and you're doing your A-levels, how are you going to address it later?
You take your A-levels, you might be, you take your GCSEs when you're 17.
So you just lose a year and you're forever behind your cohort. I hear what you're saying.
It's not the end of the world.
It is when you're 16. No, honestly, when you're 16, let me tell you, it is the end of the world. Well, okay, respectfully, right, through a relationship.
In a quarter of a mile, at junction 14, use the left 2 lanes to take the A3113 exit to Heathrow Airport.
It is understandably the end of her work. She's worked 7 years for her
Use the left 2 lanes to exit at junction 40, then keep right.
Truly. Really?
I don't think that's correct. I don't think that's correct. You're a 16-year-old.
Keep right.
I respect your decision. Best of love, lots of love to your grandchildren, look after the little ones, and of course to your children as well. Let's agree to disagree on that point, but I wish you well and stay healthy. Roger, thank you. I think if you've got teenage kids, they've been working, slaving away, and the tension, you remember before COVID, the pressure in the household around A-level.
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the first exit onto Airport Way, A3113.
Yes, of course, all the exams are done now. There's poor souls up to wait. I think I've got something. Right, should we look at other stories? And I've mentioned this a couple of times. The idea of the story that we will now, from having booster jabs in September for the over 50s, the third dose for around 32 million people. Is that the way to go? Dr. Maggie Weymouth is a GP, obviously, and a member of the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation, the all-important JCVI, speaking in a personal capacity, and joins me now. What are the plans for the autumn, Doctor? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Well, the plans are, they're provisional. This main announcement that was made yesterday for about 30 million people to be offered booster vaccines from September onwards. But it's mostly to allow our colleagues in general practice and NHS England to get on with the planning process, because they've been in limbo for a little while, and we really need to let them get on with really what is quite a big task to get on and plan over the next couple of months to decide how they're going to do this, because not only do we want to identify...
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the second exit onto Southern Perimeter Road.
Intimation over the next couple of months as well. But we want to roll this in with a flu jab wherever possible for convenience.
Well, on the same day? So, excuse me, talking over on the same day?
Yeah.
Well, not on the same arm. Well, so my left arm will have the visor and my right arm will have the flu, or vice versa. Is that
That is a possibility, yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
And that's obviously, you wouldn't be dreaming of it otherwise, but that's proven to be safe, is it?
As far as we know, yes. There is incoming data, but...
Exit the roundabout onto Southern Perimeter Road.
And can you have one and not the other? Are you a lady?
In 300 yards, at the roundabout, take the second exit and stay on Southern Perimeter Road.
Got to be up for both.
Well, we would obviously want people to be up for both, but if someone says one and not the other, they're not going to be turned down when they're actually in front of a vaccinator.
Okay.
But it is very much the provisional information so that we can get on and get planning this, because it's an enormous task. For a very
Exit the roundabout onto Southern Perimeter Road.
that we
Continue on Southern Perimeter Road for 1.5 miles.
the planners to actually make this work, because it's a big change.
Yeah.
Because some GP surgeries that are used to giving flu vaccine, for example, may not be able to give the COVID vaccine. So there's a lot of planning behind the scenes to go to make this work.
Lastly, can I ask you this? Doctor, I'm an AstraZeneca man, in that both my jabs have been AZ. I have no idea what you are. Is it as effective to mix and match? That is to say, in the autumn, if I'm given a Pfizer or Moderna, is that better? Or would it be exactly the same? Where is the science on that?
It's definitely as good. It may be better, but we haven't had the final results from what's called COV boost.
So when
trial.
will we know it's good to mix and match, or it's better to stay with your original drug?
It's in the coming few weeks. That's why this is provisional data. And to be honest, the other thing is we still need to know how long the original course lasts.
Oh, right, okay.
Because
What's your money on, Doctor? What's your money on, a mix and match, or as you were, stay as a AZ man?
I'm not a betting person. I'm a
This is quite a
scientific
relief, actually, from the JCVI. Probably quite relaxed about that.
I think it's a better place to be, really.
All right. Thanks for your time and all the work you do. Dr. Maggie Weymouth is always your GP and sits on the JCVI, the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation. Or speaking in a personal capacity. More calls coming in on schools. Ellie, I hope you can help, because we do need to go to the US to the most extraordinary story of it. I was laughing then as a colleague and producer, journalist, phoned me yesterday afternoon. I was astonished that Bill Cosby walked free from prison last night. His conviction for sexual assault overturned by Pennsylvania's highest court. Cosby, who's 83, has served more than 2 years of a 3 to 10 year term He had been found guilty of drugging and violating sports administrator Andrea Constant at his home, his mansion actually, in the Philadelphia suburbs back in 2004. To Joseph Cotry Monson, who's a criminal defence lawyer at the firm Mary Monson Solicitors on Fleet Street in London, and specialises in this area, and indeed in cases between the UK and the US. Okay, good to have you on, Joseph. Thanks as ever for your time. How or why has Cosby been freed?
Well, Nick, the mind boggles, doesn't
I'm
it?
afraid it does, sir. Yeah.
This is a legal scandal, but not the type that you and I might have first thought. Because we're not talking about legal loopholes or technicalities here, but actually a really disturbing pattern of a seriously sneaky and illegitimate prosecution, which actually, on analysis, I can't believe I'm saying this, never should have got off the ground. So this is a Supreme Court decision, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, and the 4-3 majority judgment actually marks the final end of this road in this particular prosecution of Mr. Cosby. You'll be aware that the other case is, of course, timed out on the basis of the statute of limitations. Now, the background is well known. That there was this former basketball player accused Mr. Cosby of drugging and sexually assaulting her. It was initially investigated by prosecutor Bruce Castor. You may remember his rambling and widely panned defense of Donald Trump in the recent impeachment proceedings. Now, a decision was made
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the third exit onto Beacon Road.
in the US as in the UK is beyond reasonable doubt. Now, at this point, Mr. Cosby had no fear of criminal proceedings, and once he had that assurance, he could be forced to testify in later civil proceedings brought by Ms. Constant, the complainant, and be compelled to answer, because with no criminal case on the horizon, he could not maintain his right to silence, or as my American colleagues call it, he couldn't plead the fifth. And he gave evidence in those proceedings, and admissions made
Exit the roundabout onto Beacon Road. In 100 yards, at the roundabout, take the second exit onto Stanwell Road.
They only had that evidence because they'd told him he would not face criminal charges, and that led to civil prosecution. And this is a
Exit the roundabout onto Stanwell Road. Continue on Stanwell Road for half a mile.
Teeth, I say this, Nick, an extreme textbook example of an abusive process, as we call it in the UK, or a process violation, as the US justices in this case call it.
Okay, and lastly, briefly, Joseph, what of Mr. Cosby now, and what of his alleged victims, and any further potential actions? All ruled offside and never going to happen.
Well, if there was a chance, it probably timed out in the time that they were messing about with this very cheeky, sneaky, and completely unfair, objectively unfair prosecution. The problem in the US, and we don't have that same problem, the same issue with the UK, is that sexual offences time out after a certain amount of time, and these appear to be all historic. 30 complainants in civil claims, represented by that famous US sexual offences lawyer, Gloria Allred. And it looks like it'll go nowhere. The final word here, the state prosecutor at the head of this bungling mess, Kevin Steele, says that despite this, he believes that, quote, nobody is above the law, and he hopes people appreciate that. But Nick, unfortunately for him, frustratingly for everybody, and for the disappointed complainant in this case, nobody is above the law, includes his office.
Joseph Cotry Monson, thanks as ever, criminal defence lawyer at the firm Mary Monson Solicitors on Fleet Street, specialising in this area.
In 300 yards, turn right onto Hatton Road.
After that, and also coming up after news we go, Vive la France to Paris.
A senior medical advisor to French President Emmanuel Macron has said there's no point banning British holidaymakers this summer. I'm Peter Allen, reporting for LBC in Paris.
Yes, we'll be
Turn right onto Hatton Road, then turn left onto Staines Road.
News with Simon Conway.
Nissan has confirmed it plans to build a new electric model and a huge battery plant in the UK in a major boost to the car industry. More than 1,600 jobs will be created in Sunderland and thousands more in supply companies under a £1 billion investment. Employers must now contribute 10% of the salaries of their workers on furlough as the government phases out the programme. It'll rise to 20% from August. Economists are expecting to
Turn left onto Staines Road, A315.
say people with with COVID-19 should avoid contact with their cats or dogs. Scientists in the Netherlands have found coronavirus is common in pets while their owners have the disease, and there's a risk the animal could pass it on to humans. And the weather, rain in eastern England and some heavy showers developing.
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, continue straight to stay on Staines Road, A315.
This is LBC.
The issue of poor air quality is a growing concern in the capital. LBC has been looking into the problem with Destiny Boca-Batissa from campaign group Choked Up.
The ULAS initiative is great. We're already seeing the positive effects in central London, where the level of pollutants are being significantly decreased. Londoners who live and work around central London are benefiting from cleaner quality air. London doesn't just constitute of central.
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, continue straight to stay on Staines Road, A315.
Over time, the ultra low emission zone will expand. This initiative means that pollutants such as nitrogen dioxide, these levels are going to be hopefully significantly decreased, which creates more ripple effects such as, less hospital admissions, a better quality of life for people like me. There's a collective effort that needs to be put in terms of improving air quality.
To hear the discussion in full, thanks to Transport for London, and to find out more, head to lbc.co.uk.
Stay on stamp duty holiday with Galliard Homes and save up to £15,000. We've extended the stamp duty holiday on homes right across the capital until January the 1st, 2022. London apartments from just £250,000 that qualify for a Help to Buy mortgage with just a 5% deposit. All
In 200 yards, turn left onto Colonial Road.
Service charge paid for 1 year. Book to view virtually or by appointment by calling 0203 770 6300. That's 0203 770 6300 or visit galliardhomes.com. That's Galliard.
Head west, then make a U-turn.
Stamp duty holiday applies on the first £500,000 of any new purchase. Help to Buy applies on units up to £600,000.
Right now at TalkTalk, you get super fast fibre broadband with average speeds of 67 megabits per second. And hang on, you also get free unlimited calls to UK mobiles and landlines. Oh, hold on. There's online security too, and 24/7 online support, all for just £25 a month.
Take the next left onto Staines Road, A315.
Offer ends 7th of July. Search TalkTalk Fibre. CPI plus 3.7% increase from April 2022, subject to location. £4.95 postage and packing. T's and C's apply.
London. Let's get our COVID-19 vaccinations sorted. If you're 18 and over, you can book right now. Or if you're over 40, you could get fully vaccinated faster by bringing your second jab forward. Just visit nhs.uk/COVID vaccination today. The sooner, the safer. Every vaccination gives us hope.
Galliard stamp duty holiday until the 1st of January 2022. GalliardHomes.com. Applies on the first £500,000 of any new purchase. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
7:37 is the time. Ellie, come to your calls concerning your daughter. I think it is at school in a moment. Quick dive into the world of finance and business. David Buick joins you from Aquis Exchange. David, why are you saying mind the gap in your circles this morning? Good morning.
Good morning to you, Nick. This is a US retail operation, global, and it's had quite a big footprint in the UK. In fact, 81 shops in this country and in Ireland, all to be closed.
In 200 yards, turn left onto Colonial Road.
And it's basically going all online, and this just adds to the woes that there was some figures out yesterday saying that the record 190,000 jobs have been lost in the retail sector. This is probably going to cost 1,000 jobs out of these 81 stores. It's desperately sad, but they've been really struggling, Gap, for some considerable period of time, and feel that the only way that they can make ends meet and make a profit is being online.
Okay, out of bricks and onto clicks. Who's been talking about inflation, David?
Andy Haldane, in his valedictory speech, he leaves, he left yesterday, the Bank of England, and he's warned that he is much more concerned than some of his colleagues at the Bank of England about the effect of inflation. And he wouldn't be at all surprised that by the end of this year or early next year, it reached as high as 4%. It's currently at 2.1%. So what he says is, don't be surprised that if interest rates have to go up in some vein, sometime next year.